Today, I'm joined by professional wrestler, coach, and entrepreneur Scott Reed, known to fans as the It Factor. Scott's wrestling journey started with a dream and evolved into a lifelong pursuit, one that's taken him from backyard wrestling into international competition, including time spent in Japan and eventually into leadership as a coach and mentor. Today, Scott is not only the owner and head coach of the Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center, but also a current professional wrestler with the Wrestling Federation of America. In this episode, we talk about the realities of the wrestling business, the discipline of lifelong fitness, entrepreneurship, and the personal growth that comes from chasing a dream for decades. We also touch on mental health, anxiety, and what real strength looks like beyond the ring. This is a conversation about purpose, perseverance, and paying it forward. Stick around at the end for some highlight footage of the match between Scott and superfan John Austin. And here's a little teaser for you. The It Factor Scott Reed delivers a big old can of whoop-ass. Enjoy episode 9. Scott, welcome to the studio. Great to see you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, listen, we're going to go into a bunch of stuff today, but for people listening, either, on Spotify or the streaming services or watching on YouTube, Scott's a professional wrestler. He owns Elite Training Facility, Elite Wrestling.
Yep, Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center.
And, you're an avid entrepreneur, influencer on social media. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Scott, again, it's great to see you. Where did it all begin for you? When did you first watch wrestling, and when did you get bit by that bug?
Oh man, I feel like I've answered this question probably like 4 times this week alone. I don't know why, it's just come up. It's cool because it brings me back to like the love how I first got into it. So I was probably in 4th grade. I met a kid named Justin. He was probably my only friend in 4th grade. And he was a really big wrestling fan. I think his brother got him into it. But I used to hang out at his house, and he actually introduced me to, if you remember, the Basham Buddies.
Yeah.
These little stuffed animals, and you'd hit them and they'd make noises. They'd like ouch or whatever. He had like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. And I remember going out in his little, it's like 10 by 10 fenced in Manchester yard on the west side. And we're just out there elbow dropping these things and just loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he got me into the video games, and then he was like, you can actually watch it on TV. So then I watched Raw on TV, and really I was hooked. Hooked. And it's funny you mentioned this, how I got into it, because I was just picking up speakers for my my wrestling school, and I dropped them off at Music Mill, and I'm in there picking them up, and the kid Justin walks in. Like, he's a male person now.
Wow, that's awesome.
So he comes in, I'm like, this is insane. Like, I literally just answered that question 3 times beforehand, and there it is.
I believe in, neuroscience and quantum field and all that stuff. So, this is all connected. So the energy is rising, right? And we're all kind of talking about this. I think that's an awesome thing. I believe in that stuff, So, all right, 4th grade, you're jumping off fences, landing on stuffed animals and stuff. Like, from there, when did you get into actually, training for it, or get a little more serious about it? And what was that like?
Yeah. So, I went from that, and then it was kind of doing the whole backyard wrestling thing with my buddies from school up into about I want to say 8th grade, maybe? Maybe 6th or 7th. I ended up finding these guys that did this local wrestling thing on the cable access television. It's called WAW back in the day. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. They had a little TV show, and they had a cool little intro to the TV show. So I was like, you know what? Let me go and see if I can get with these guys, just to kind of mess around.
How old were you? Did you say 7th grade?
Yeah. What was that? 13 or
12, 13?
12, 13, yeah.
Oh, man. Scott, you must have been in your glory, huh? That's awesome.
I loved it, man. I loved it.
Oh, man.
So they were doing it in the backyard at first, but then they graduated to Murphy's Gym. So that was when it was on Commercial Street. So they had a ring and everything in this little gym. So I went in, and I was like, they had tryouts, backyard tryouts. So we went in there, tried out, and they're like, yeah, you can come back next week and you'll be booked for this match.
That's the tryout. Do you survive or not, right?
Literally, yeah. I walked away from it. And they didn't have a clue what they were doing, but we were all kids back then. So from there is really I was first time in a ring. It was a boxing ring, granted, with a spring, and it was awful for wrestling anyway. But
Right. I mean, that you guys take a beating, and I
yeah,
imagine the way you guys have that flooring set up is pretty fucking important, right?
yeah. So I
You
did
know.
that till about 16 years old. So we're talking close to about 2002 now. I'm dating myself. So so then I'm kind of like looking for wrestling schools. I went down and visited Killer Kowalski's in Revere at the time, but it was just too far away. That's actually when I first got introduced to Mike Hollow. He was there. Had no idea who he was at the time.
Where did you grow up, Scott?
I grew up Hooksett, Manchester, that
Okay.
area. So then I found Top Rope Pro Wrestling Academy, which was run by Steve Bradley, who happened to be at the time a WWE developmental guy. He basically ran the whole system. He's responsible for training Kurt Angle, but he was down there running that whole developmental system. Got released and came back home to Manchester. Again, never heard of him. And then I signed up at his school in 2002. It was me and Brandon Locke. I don't know if you remember, if you know Brandon Locke, but he did some bodybuilding and stuff too. But it was just us two training for the first, 6 months that we were there. But man, I got to tell you, like training to be a professional wrestler is probably the best time of my life.
I believe it, dude. I believe it. You must. So he's bringing all these tricks and of the trade with him, all this experience. God, that must have been an invaluable time, though, huh?
It was great. And then,
Yeah.
he'd have his friends come by who was like Matt and Jeff Hardy, Shannon Moore, Kevin Kelly, all the guys that I grew up watching. And I'm like, oh, these guys are awesome, coming
Oh
in and
man,
talking to us and stuff. It was great. It
that's
was great.
awesome. Living your dream right there.
Yeah.
You mentioned him in your bio too. Was it Steve Bradley, the
Yep.
mofo? He was a big influence in your life, huh? Can you speak
Yeah.
to his? Could you speak or lack thereof?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, he was something. I got to tell you though, it was almost like, he was very respected in the business by everybody. Just his work ethic, how his mind was around professional wrestling. He was just a really respected person. And, again, I didn't know any of this at the time. I'm just, coming into this whole thing and I'm green. I don't know anything. So I'm just experiencing it as it happens. And he was just very much drilling into the fundamentals of professional wrestling as far as footwork and ring positioning and the stuff that as a fan, you have no idea about. Like you don't know what goes on as far as in the matches and the footwork and all and everything that you have to be. So he was really good at that.
I imagine that's like getting back to the knowing the moves and how to maneuver in that ring. I mean, one false move, or you could be in a lot of trouble the way you guys take each other down.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
It's always a risk. Always. Every time you
Yep.
step in there, no matter, what you have. I mean, now we're wide open with what professional wrestling is now, but there's always that risk there.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
yeah, as a mentor, Steve was really good. Really good. Taught me a lot of hard lessons going into the business and what I can do and what I can't do and what you can say and what you can't say.
Can you give me some Can you?
Sure can. So this one time,
Let's
the
go.
one and only time that I really screwed up was we did a bunch of shows. My training consisted of Monday through Thursday. We trained from, was it 5 p.m.? 5 or 6 p.m. I always got there at 4 because I got out of school and I just drove there. I love the cat.
So every once in a while, Simba likes to join the podcast,
Oh, I love that.
and he heard you were going to be on, so he's decided to try to be a lap cat. So
He had to come say hi.
yeah. So see you later, Simba.
So yeah, I trained 4 times a week, and then I wrestled Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday shows.
Wow,
So we were always busy as far as being in the ring.
that's a
But
lot,
one
Scott.
time in particular, I had gone and worked for a company that was like a rival company, I suppose you could say, at the time. And I didn't ask permission. And then I got pulled off the next 2 shows. And I remember, like, pulled off as in, like, didn't even ask me to help with ring crew. And that's when you know you screwed up. So I remember just sitting home and I'm just like, man, there's a show in Derry. Like, this sucks.
Yeah,
And I'm sitting there and I kind of just came to terms with like, I'm not wrestling this weekend because, obviously we're going to have a conversation and I'm going to have to, beg and plead to come back. My phone rings and it's his buddy Alex Arion, who's another wrestler, but he helped Steve with everything. Another really good guy. So he calls me. He's like, "Hey, where are you? like, oh, I'm sitting at home right now. And he's like, hey, can you get down there? I need you to work in the first match. And I'm like, yeah, but I thought I was basically banned from being there. And he's like, no, we'll talk about it when we get down there. So yeah, lo and behold, so I wrestled that first match. The second night, I had to be booked in in another match that involved weapons. And man, I got my butt kicked.
Oh, man. What
And
kind of
then
weapons?
afterwards, he goes, do you understand what just happened? And I'm like, loud and clear, I get it.
Oh, man. That's awesome. What kind of weapons did they bring in the ring?
Chairs, ladders,
man,
tables. Yeah, yeah,
all off like the back and stuff, the head?
yeah. Back, mostly back. I
You
took
know,
one chair shot in the head. Um, by I would say probably one of my best friends in professional wrestling. Clobbered me, absolutely clobbered me.
oh,
And I felt tingling and warm, and I'm like, dude, what did I do?
oh, man.
Yeah.
So it's funny because when we would get ready for the interview and stuff, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to shoot a video of you smashing a chair over my back? Like, you know what I mean? Learning how to do it. And then I thought, you know what? I might never get up from that.
Yeah, no, I don't recommend it. No,
Not with all my,
man, I swing them hard.
oh, man. Well, let's talk about the battles you go through in there. I mean, how do you do it? I mean, it must be a very strict recovery, stretching. If you're going to be a professional at it and you're going to stay with it, I imagine it requires a much deeper commitment, right?
It does. It has you, and I always tell everybody, if you're gonna get into professional wrestling, get into it as young as you possibly can. Like again, I was 16. If the school was around when I was 13, I'd be there all day long. But you have a better chance of recovering faster, and your body, you're invincible, right? Until you're until you're not anymore, you're invincible. And
Absolutely.
I did so much stuff. Like if you go back and look at my career, when I first started and all the crazy stuff I was doing just in the ring, like all the flips I was doing off the ropes and all kinds of, and then you talk about they call them gimmick matches, which is stuff with weapons and ladders and crazy stuff, man. Dives to the outside, like all the stuff that I tell my students now, don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
It's the stuff that I was doing. So, we'd get all banged up back then and we'd have to wrestle the next night and be like, all right, I feel good. I feel good. It's fine. It's fine. Well, energy
Yeah.
drink will be good.
Yeah.
Now, man, I have a match, and like the next day, I'm like, whew, I feel like I got hit by a truck, you know?
I believe it.
And I'm stretching my routine. So I'm getting up usually around 5:30, 5 o'clock. And then I get to the gym about 6:30 in the morning. But the first like half hour of my workout is literally like stretching.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's insane. Like I've never stretched so much in my life every day.
And can I tell you, it's the best part of the day. Reconnecting with your body every morning. Every morning, your body tells you something else fucking hurts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you lie down there and start, feeling what's going on with your body, it's like you do a reset. I love
Yep.
that mental reset too. That was always when I used to compete in bodybuilding. That was always a big part of my workout. Like I really look forward to resetting my brain, dialing it all in. Kind of probably what you do in the gym and in the ring. Connecting to what we're doing, and that's why you've been doing it so long.
Yeah, 20, 23 years now.
That's awesome. I retired from bodybuilding. Scott, my first show was in 1991. Yeah. AAU Mr. Bay State. Believe it or not. Yeah. So it was a long time, right? And I finally called it quits in 2022. And I never could have lasted if I didn't have some kind of a specific protocol for recovery and following,
Yeah.
And to your point, you're right. Like the younger kids, I always tell them, lift weights now, eat like a king, a pig, eat it. You will never be, your body is just, it's a machine
You'll never
at
get
that
it
age.
back. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I love to see the kids take advantage of it too,
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
all the young kids. All right. So when you were wrestling back then, I imagine those were like small venues or local stuff. Did you? I noticed you also like wrestled in Japan and for some bigger organizations. Can you tell me what it was like transitioning, from maybe what we were just talking about to bigger shows, bigger venues? Then definitely want to talk about your time in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. So in professional wrestling, there's not a set path that anybody can go on. You kind of have blazing your own trail, right? So you're going to make a lot of mistakes, a lot of setbacks, but you can make a lot of quick advances too if you just are smart to the business. So picking your shows is usually a good idea. You want to make sure that you're picking shows that like have reputable people on them that you know you're not going to get hurt on. Preach that constantly to my students. But my path is so much different than what is available today. So back in my day,
Right.
it was really luck and persistence that got you anywhere in professional wrestling, right? And you had to have you had to be a really good worker to back it up. You couldn't just be like, "Hey, give me a shot," because when you got that shot, that was the only shot you got. There was one impression. That's all you get.
So you better be ready for it when you get that chance.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't ask for something you're not ready for.
Right. Absolutely. But I hear you on that one 100%. Absolutely.
Yep. So, I went through all the training and I made such an impact that we started doing, they asked people to come to TV to do extra work for WWE, right? So you get a bunch of guys, you send them to TV, and we're just there to do random jobs. Sometimes have matches, but then we'll work out in the ring with guys that are on TV. So a highlight to one of my careers was being one of the extras one time. We were standing around the ring, we just got done working out, and they're picking people for, we're calling them job matches. Basically, they call them enhancement talent now. They're not jobbers, because jobbers is, frowned, it's a negative.
Frowned upon, yeah.
Frowned upon. So now they're enhancement talent, okay? You're still doing the same thing. You're still 1, 2, 3, right?
Everything
Making them guys good.
Everything needs a label, I think, right?
Yeah.
These days, anyway.
So my agent at the time, so he comes up to me and it's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, right?
Oh, no way.
He's one of the producers there. They call him producers now.
He was a wrestler too, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I remember him.
So, they pick me and I hop over and they're like, "Hey, all right, we want you to work with Boogeyman." And I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is because I didn't watch wrestling when I was wrestling, like ever.
Why would you, right?
Once I became in the business, I was like, I didn't care about watching it anymore, which was dumb because I needed to keep up with the product.
Right.
But I had no idea. I'm like, who's Boogeyman? Who is this guy? So anyway, we hop over. Steamboat's like, "Hey, Scott, how are your punches?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're good." He's like, "Okay." He takes his hat off, puts I don't know what he had. He has something in his mouth, puts it down. He's like, "All right, punch me." And I'm like, I froze for a second. I'm like, did Ricky the Dragon Steamboat just tell me to punch him?
Oh, man.
Okay. So I throw him a punch and he's like, "Oh yeah, again, boom." And he's taking like 3 or 4 of these punches.
Were they closed fists or just like open paws or?
They're wrestling punches, right?
Punch like that, slap, like heavy slaps.
Yeah. Usually, I tag. So again, I'm thinking like, hopefully he doesn't mind actually getting hit. I'm a 50-50 shot right now, right?
Yeah.
So I pop him with a few punches and he's like, "Oh, this is great. Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to have you do this, and this. You'll get into the Boogeyman," and they go over the whole thing, right? So that was one of my highlights, is being able to like get in there and work with a guy from that era.
Right.
And then work with a guy from now, this time. And then we did a match on ECW, and you could probably find that on YouTube somewhere.
Let's go back to the Boogeyman. Did you just fight him that one time, or did you ever fight him again?
So on TV I did one match. That was, like I said, that was for ECW, which was WWE's brand. They bought ECW back then.
What year was that? Like 2004, 2006-ish?
It must have been 2006, 8, somewhere around there. Yeah. 6. Let's say 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, let's say 6. So then I ended up working out with him the next night when we were in Manchester. And it was interesting because I survived the first night. The second night, he whips me into the buckle and does this big jump on me from behind. And my face eats the buckle. I ended up breaking 2 teeth.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And I had to go get them fixed like the next day because I had another TV taping the week after. But it's funny because I saw him on the Indies after he got released, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, how you been? Da da da. Like, how your teeth?
Great.
Everything good?" And I'm like, "How the hell do you even remember me?"
That's great. That's great, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So I had all that going into it.
That's brotherhood too.
And then from there, I think it was 2010, I was kind of in a weird spot with wrestling in 2010. Wrestling tends to play with like a lot of mind games on you. It'll make you feel really good at times. And then there's times that it makes you feel like, what am I doing? Like, why am I wasting, all this time and energy on something that might not be or probably won't be?
To your point, that's a big part of today is talking to you about the ups and downs of wrestling and, your mindset. And I imagine there's days you're like you said, you're on top of the world. And then there's days the anxiety from it all and the pain and what you have to go through and the traveling and all that stuff. So yeah, I imagine mindset's everything. And that could be a tough thing when you're traveling that much, right? And all that stuff.
Yeah. So I was in a weird spot where it was like, you know what? Like, I've been doing this for a while now, and I really haven't gotten anywhere. I got a lot of situations where prior to that, I was basically picked to help guys get tryouts. So they would get tryouts, they would wrestle me in the ring, I'd make them look really good, and then they get sent down to Florida for a real tryout. And I'm just sitting here like, hi, me? How about me?
Right.
And it never happened. So we're in 2010, and I'm like, you know what? Me and my buddy Tommaso, at that time we were traveling together. And we're like, all right, let's go down to this tryout seminar. It's for Dragon Gate USA. And at the time, I had no idea what Dragon Gate USA was. I just knew that it was in Philadelphia at the old ECW arena, and I thought that was cool. So I'm like, yeah, let's go down. And it was interesting. So the drive itself is like 6 hours, right? One way. We drive 6 hours, we get to the tryout, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to have fun with this because what do I got to lose? So I go there, have a blast. We do everything they want us to do. And they ended up picking me as the winner of the tryout, which I was like, that's weird. There's a lot of really good people here. Why are you picking me? So I ended up having a match on their little pay-per-view. And from there, that actually got me contracted with a guy that's running a developmental program right now, Gabe Sapolsky.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up working for Evolve and Dragon Gate USA and FIP, which were all owned by him, and Sal also had a hand in it too. But that's how I got there. And then I remember a fun moment for me. Again, we're talking about ups and downs. Was going out to WrestleMania weekend, and from there, well, say prior to that, I got called in for another tryout match with Sami Callihan, which is another really good friend of mine. We traveled together to the Dragon Gate shows, and he's like, "Hey, brother, I'd like to wrestle. I'd like to wrestle you in my tryout." All right, sweet. All right, I'll do that. So I wrestled him in that tryout. He gets sent down to Florida. And here I am like, bro, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is the third dude that I've wrestled and they sent for a tryout and has gotten signed. Like, this is really annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your mindset? How'd you get through it?
So for me, it was like, all right, well, obviously I'm doing something right
Absolutely.
to get these guys in the positions they need to be in. So now I need to figure out, okay, how can I be that guy? Like, who can I call in to make me look good? So we're doing the Dragon Gate thing. WrestleMania weekend comes. They usually have this big wrestling event called WrestleCon. It's basically like a mini WrestleMania for the indies. And I was there with Evolve in Dragon Gate. And we did this big elaborate entrance and yada, yada, yada. I had this big match, crazy. And then afterwards, I'm sitting there cooling down. And the company, Dragon Gate USA, is sister company to a company called Dragon Gate in Japan. So they had approached me and they said, hey, look, we'd really love to bring you over to Japan. And they gave me all the numbers and I sat with it for a little while. And thinking about it, I was like, I really can't do this because I would leave and then I would leave my then girlfriend at the time to like fend for herself with the apartment and like she can't afford it singly. So I need to make some sort of income to send back to her to make sure we afford the rent. So I had to go back to him and say, and this is the ups and downs of professional wrestling, right?
Right.
And I knew that, saying I can't do it because of X, Y, and Z, I probably wouldn't get that opportunity again. Because again, in wrestling, when you're given an opportunity, you take it. Hands down. No matter how shitty it might seem, just take it, deal with it, and get through it. But this is one of those things where financially I couldn't do it. So I had to go back to them and say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. This is why. I would really love to get over there. Maybe next time. It took 6 more months of grinding for them to approach me again with a higher amount. And at that time, I was like, you know what? Even if it's a break even at that point, like I'm going. Yeah.
Right.
But the deal I got to go over there was actually really good.
Good.
So they brought me over there.
How long were you there for, Scott?
I was there for 7 weeks. I would have
Nice.
been there longer if we didn't run into the Christmas break. And I opted to stay there, but there was going to be nobody at the dojo. And I couldn't drive a car over there. And
Did you,
speak Japanese.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, did you get, yeah, that's the other thing. Culturally, did you, yeah, like, you know, did you get to see any of Japan while you were over there, though? Did you get to?
Oh, yeah, a lot of it. So we ended up having to, the night before I left for my flight, I wrestled in, I think it was New York. And I was wrestling in this like tag match. And the end of the tag match was this guy was going to hit his finishing move on me. And I forget what the move was. But I was very adamant of saying, hey, listen, I need to take it easy because I'm boarding a flight tomorrow for my Japan tour. And they go, okay, yep, we got it. He ends up dropping me on my shoulder. Right?
Of course.
He drops me on my shoulder, and then I'm in the back, and I'm furious right now. Because I'm like, dude, I have to leave tomorrow morning for this flight. So they're packing ice on my shoulder and whatnot. I get on the plane, and if anybody has ever been on a plane with an injury, you completely understand my mindset right now.
Oh, man. Pressure kicked, the pressure.
Yeah.
You know.
So again, my first tour of Japan, they denied. The second offer, I accepted, and now I get hurt. So I'm like, I'm not telling anybody that I'm hurt. I'm never doing that.
As long as it doesn't fall off, you know?
Yeah. So I'm doing this international flight, and the flight attendant comes up to me. She sees I'm in pain. She's like, can I get you anything? Like, as much ice as you possibly can get. I'm like, I don't know what I did to my shoulder, but I did something to it. So we end up landing, getting there, and we landed in Tokyo. And I get in, we drive. It's probably another hour to get to the hotel. And everybody's like, all right, good night. And like leaves me in the hotel lobby.
But so like, do I have a room or am I sleeping on someone's couch?
What am I doing? So I check in,
Man,
and they're like, all right, you know, they're pointing because again, they don't. What I learned is they either speak English and they're never going to tell you, or they just don't. Right? Until you earn the privilege to hear their English. I don't think this guy spoke English. So he was pointing to me where to go, and I get into the room, and I'm like, okay, cool, but I'm starving. So I'm not just going to sit here and wither away, right? So I go downstairs, and I'm searching for food, places to eat, and I found like this market. And I'm going into the market, and they greet you when you come into the market. And I kind of did some research on like nutrition labels before I got there while I was on the plane. Kind of figure out like, all right, what does protein look like? Because they're all symbols. So like, what does the protein look like? What do the carbs look like? Okay, we're good. So I went in there with that, and man,
I love it.
Just doing that, I ate some weird stuff. Like I ate a seafood Alfredo that I didn't realize was seafood Alfredo until I started eating it. I ate a ton of yogurt, a ton of rice triangles. I don't even know what they're actually called, but they're amazing. But yeah, that was my fun first time there.
What was it like over there training and stuff? Were you wrestling with a lot of Japanese, or was it
So
completely international?
Only two Americans on the tour. It was me and Ricochet.
Okay.
And Ricochet, he was in WWE for a while too. So it was me and Ricochet, and the problem really was that he was a good guy, babyface, and I was a heel, a bad guy. So in Japan, you cannot be together. Like you cannot be seen together because in Japan it's still a real sport. So you couldn't do it. It was against the rules. So we couldn't go anywhere together. So it was like, what was the point of even having, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we could be like, hey, we're
that
going
sucks.
here. Yeah, it wasn't. It did suck.
Did he stay? Was he staying at your hotel though, or was he?
No.
Did he stay? No.
No, he didn't get there until a week after. So I had a whole week of me traveling and doing shows on my own. Like, so crazy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So was there a manager over there with you though, or anything like that? Nothing, huh?
No, dude, like it was
Man,
literally like if you just flew over there
I
and
would have.
like went to a hotel.
Oh man, I would have honestly, Scott. I would have crapped my pants if I was doing
Yeah,
that. You know,
yeah. It
I
was
would fall apart. God bless you. That's awesome.
it was a weird time. I mean, I was at that time I was used to doing everything pretty much by myself as far as like like going around and like finding different things and that stuff. So being there really wasn't much of a shock. Only I knew I couldn't ask questions because nobody would understand what I'm saying. I mean, like I said, if they did, they weren't going to acknowledge that they spoke English. But I remember walking up and down in Tokyo, and people were like touching me and like feeling my muscles, and I was like,
Yeah, they're not used to that.
this is so much different than America. Like
Yeah,
America, I worried about getting shot. In Japan, I'm worried about getting groped. Like, like I'll take this over anything else.
absolutely. You know, I love the culture. I interviewed Dr. Joe McNichol a couple months ago. He'll be on one of the episodes, and his grandmother was from Japan, and she came over here after the war, and what an influence she had on his life. But the culture, it just fascinates me. I hope to get there someday. I do.
Yeah. And the training was interesting. So we were on the bus. I wrestled 5 times a week minimum. And then we would train if we felt up to it. We weren't obligated to train because we were part of the main roster. But then you had young boys, which were student training. So they would work out and then go train in the ring. But yeah, it was really fun. The guy that owned the company would always try to get us. He was a big martial arts guy. So the way that we had our dojo in Tokyo was the top floor was his dojo, the middle was his office, the floor down from that was our apartment, and the ground floor was where we had like events. So we did, I think, 2 of those a week.
So 2 events a week, and you wrestle 2 to 3 times an event. Scott, is that how you broke it down?
No, 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 no. So when we traveled, we hopped in the bus and we toured the entire country. Like
Okay,
we did a whole loop of Japan, the entire country,
that's
even
crazy.
as far as Sapporo.
So
So
were you? I'm sorry, I have to ask this question. Were you training? So you said you were wrestling 5 nights a week, and that's wrestling, not training. You had 5 matches a week. Is that what
no,
was happening?
yeah,
Oh,
5 matches a week. Yep.
wow. You it must have been. That's a
And we
lot, I would
worked.
imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot because they had televised matches, right, once a week, and then they had what they're called house shows, which is non-televised matches. So you kind of like adjust your wrestling style based on the TV versus your house show because you're not going to go balls to the wall for a house show as you would the TV. But you're still going to, you're putting in a lot of work on the house show. Don't get me wrong. You're just not doing the overly crazy stuff, the harder bumps.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, we did that, and we even traveled to Sapporo, which again, I left New England in November ish, October, November ish. So cold. And then I get to Japan, cold. I go to Sapporo, it's like Alaska, right? To get to Sapporo, it's detached from the actual island. So you have to fly. So we got in this like puddle jumper.
Oh man. Oh
And
man. No way.
I think
No
it's
way.
really important to let everybody know at this
No way.
time in my life, I had never been on a plane. So my very first flight was to Japan. Okay. So now I get off this, 6 person, was it three, three? No, three on the outside, three on the inside, four on the inside. Yeah, I think something like that. Like enormous plane.
I
And
would
then
not get on it.
I get into this like 10 person little puddle jumper. And it's like, dude, you felt everything. I
Yeah, you do.
thought that I'm like, I don't know if I'm actually going to make it out of Japan. Yeah. That
That's
was the only
crazy.
time I was just like, okay, this is nuts.
Well, that it's funny. I always talk about following your heart, right? People that follow the heart. You definitely follow your heart. And sometimes when you follow your heart, you put yourself into positions that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
And that's an example, I think. Certainly you have a passion for wrestling. So you get back from Japan. What lessons did you learn over there? And what type of stuff as a performer at that level, what did you learn about yourself, the sport? I mean, it must have been a lot
Yeah.
going on,
There was. And honestly, like I said, I was in kind of a weird situation prior to getting signed with Evolve and Dragon Gate. And it was in like one of those like kind of like down moments of professional wrestling when you're kind of like, what am I doing? Like I've been grinding for so long and zero opportunities were presented. For some reason I'm like, why can't I create an opportunity for myself? Like, what am I missing here? So then getting signed and then being over there, it kind of brought the love of professional wrestling back to me because I realized like there are good people. There actually are good people. They're just very far and few between in America, but they're pretty much all in Japan.
Right.
Do you know what I
Well,
mean? Like everywhere we went, it was very receptive. Even the wrestling fans, this was really cool. So even the wrestling fans would take you out to dinner. So we would meet them. They would take us out to dinner, almost like a VIP meet and greet type deal. So they would buy us food and they would give us gifts. And I remember my last show, I still have it today. My first week in Japan, I took a photo with one of these fans. And I just didn't think anything of it. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll take a photo. So we took a photo, yeah. And then my last show in Japan, that same fan was at the show and I had no idea. And she like sought me out and she gave them a gift for me. I got the gift and then I went out and met her. And in it, it was a card with like our picture in it, which was really
man,
cool. Yeah.
that's really
So that
sweet
was,
too. Yeah.
yeah, that was really cool. But they did stuff like that all the time to these guys.
It's and that's the kind of stuff that I always talk about. Feed your soul, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It fills your heart. It just makes you feel good. It's not ego. It's just pure joy.
Yeah.
Think about the happiness you bring into her and all your fans' life. Like that's so freaking cool.
Right. That's to me, I was like, how me really? Okay. All right.
Yeah, having that impact on someone's life and not even knowing it, right?
Yeah.
How rewarding is that too? And that's we're gonna get into when we talk about your school, just mentoring and how good that feels. So what year did you start Elite? When did that come about? Like, what's the transition from where you're at in life to Elite? I know you've got the nutrition store and stuff, but I'm talking about in terms of wrestling right now.
Yeah. All right. So how I transitioned that whole deal was another lesson that I learned, not only in life, but professional wrestling, was so I get back from my tour. I do a few more things in WWE. And then I did a show in Queens, New York for the company Evolve at the time. I did their first, it was a double header. So we had two shows in the weekend, same building. I think it was the same building. So I did the first show. Then I was supposed to be at the second show. I got a call on the way home from the first show from my actual job, my shoot job. And they're like, hey, we're starting a contract in Concord tomorrow. We need you to be there. And mind you, I've been waiting for this contract for the last three weeks. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. First and foremost, why are we starting on a Sunday?
And what was Scott? I'm sorry, I missed the part. What was this for? You were a contract for?
Yeah, so I work for a construction company.
I see.
While I did the,
Gotcha. So that's oof. So what did you do?
So
That's a tough one.
dude, that was a tough one. It was a real tough one. So then I was like, well, I need to make a decision. Like, I can't, what am I going to do? So I'm like weighing out all the odds. I'm like, if I don't show up, am I going to get fired? If I call out, what's going to happen the rest of it? So I ended up having to have a conversation with, then it was Gabe. And we came to terms that like, this was basically stupid. I got released from my wrestling contract that day. And I was like, well, shit. I spent the last 3 years with this guy, and it took all of 30 seconds to get fired from this contract. Like that was like, cool. Me at the time, I'm just like, yeah, whatever, dude. I don't.
Yeah, of course.
I don't care. And then
Man.
as I'm going home, I'm like, what? This is stupid. I should have just picked wrestling over this all day. Should have picked wrestling constantly. But again, that was a lesson. And then, so I didn't work for that company anymore. And then that company got bought by WWE.
No kidding.
So I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now.
My God.
And then I watched it. Everybody who I had wrestled or I was around or traveled with, all get hired from that company. And I'm just like, dude, what is going on right now? Like, can you throw me a bone? You just help me out here at this point? So yeah,
Well,
that happened. And then I kind of was just like, you know what? Like, I think, I come back from Japan at that point. It's been about a year. And I found out that we were pregnant with my son. And it was that point in time, just I'm just like, you know what? Like, I got the nutrition store, I got the supplement brand. Like, I'm doing good financially for myself. I'm
hmm
like, I'm gonna have a kid. Like, wrestling is not. I got fired. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
yeah,
wrestling was kind of like back down here to what I felt before, where I was like, why bother? I'm 25 years
that's
old.
well, that's what happens though too, right? You start getting responsibilities,
Yeah,
and you got to make tougher decisions, right? When that
you do.
happens,
Yep.
yeah, it's and I think many of us, Scott, go through that, right? We have to follow our heart, but then you get to a choice. There's that path, right? That divergent path. And which one are we going to follow? The key is you got back into it, and that's a testament to how much you love wrestling. Truthfully,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I got bit by the bug again, and I was like training at a place just for myself because I wanted to kind of get back into wrestling. And this is what 3 years ago, about three. And I was like, no, more than three, like 4 years. And I'm like, all right, let me go train. And I knew this guy from when he trained with me. So I hit his school up. He's just starting out. He wanted me to help him, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll offer. I'm like, I'm not going to train guys. I'll train with them, but I'm not interested in having a training job. Like me as a coach or a trainer, I'm like, it's not in it for me. Like I'm not that person. So as I'm going through their whole process and training with them, I meet Mike Hollow again, and I think it's important to say that let's just say somebody don't believe every time somebody tells you something about somebody else, right? Because we were rivals. It was Steve in WFA versus Mike in Chaotic every time, and like the stuff we were told about Mike, it wasn't never good, and we kind of formed our opinions based around others' opinions. So meeting Mike, I kind of was like watching how he trains and how he coaches, and then I'm just like, this guy literally is like the same. Like we're literally the same. We look for the same stuff, the same footwork, ring positioning, the aggression. Like we are looking for the exact same things. And it didn't until I actually had a conversation with Mike and really learned like who Mike was as a person. I was like, we come from the same place. We literally do. Like because he was trained by Walter Kowalski. Um, Steve was trained by a handful of people that were all really good. Les Thatcher and
hmm
Harley and like I said, he was responsible for the developmental deals. So like I looked at him like we're literally the same. So me and Mike kind of grew close in training and coaching, and then I was started stepping into the coaching role a little bit with these kids. And then an opportunity presented itself in Concord, and I was like, hey, listen to the owner of that school, and I was like, hey, we have an opportunity to be able to grow the school, get in a better looking facility, and then be able to get WWE in the door. Because at the time, like I was going to help anybody who really wanted it, and I was going to at least utilize my connections to help them.
hmm
And the guy came up, looked at the facility, and he's like, and at the time it was a bonton, right? So you had the tiles and the carpet, and it looked like an apartment store. So the guy's like, he's like, this is a really great space. He's like, but it's like an extra 15 minutes from my house, and I just don't think anybody's going to come up here. And I don't really want to make the drive. And I said, listen, not for nothing. You don't have to make the drive. You don't even have to be here. I said, I'll take over nights on coaching and Mike will take nights on coaching. And he just wasn't having it. He's like, yeah, but you can what do you say? Lease out the name or whatever. It's basically a royalty thing. And I'm like,
hmm
dude, really? Like, I think you're out of your tree. I'm gonna rent a royalty. I'm gonna have a royalty deal on a school that means nothing. Okay, that's a good idea. But anyway,
Well, I guess he felt
so
you don't get what you don't ask for.
basically, so anyway, Mike heard that it got denied, and Mike turns to me and he goes, "So, when do you want to do it?" And I'm like, "Mike, what do you mean?" He's like, "When do you want to put a wrestling school up there?" And I'm like, "I'm not doing that. Like, you were out of your mind, dude. Like, I'm not. That's not me. I'm like, I don't want to be an owner of a wrestling company." And then we sat on it for a little bit, and I was like, "All right, listen, I'll do it, but only if you're coming because who am I? Like, I am nobody to be coaching. You've coached." countless people in TV right now. So I'm just going to build something and then you're there. Like that's how it goes. So we ended up forming like this really good relationship where, we did the entire build out ourselves, along with I have another business partner in it too. He likes to remain silent, but he's also one that convinced me. He's like, why don't we do it? I'm like, I don't have the money for that. He's like, I do. Of course you do. Now I can't say no because now
Right.
my excuses are gone.
So
So all three
what
of us were grinding and to build this facility out.
what year did you get it open?
I think 2002. Yeah, 2002. June
Wow.
2002 is when we opened.
Okay. So it's
But
been around a long.
yeah, it's been around for almost 3 years now.
Okay. So 2022.
22, yeah, 22.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
My whole goal with that was basically just like the wrestling in New England. It hasn't been good for a very long time. WWE has kind of pulled out of New England to find talent because there's a lot of what they call bad habits. Basically, wrestling doesn't look believable anymore. So my goal was to build a facility that was very similar to the Performance Center down in Florida, because I thought to myself, like, all right, if I can build a facility that looks just identical as what they have, then they have no choice but to say yeah, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I
What's
got
the
the guy
objection?
that's trained. I got the guy that's trained like a handful of guys that are on their TV currently. Like, why would they say no? It's literally handed to them. Like, hey, we're going to help develop talent for you. So that's what I did. I was like, and I don't do anything half-assed. I just go all in. Like, it's a problem, I think, at this point. But
You know what? These projects are the things that keep us going, though. This is the stuff that
yeah,
keeps you young, Scott. Doing things that out of your comfort zone, perhaps, or something you've never imagined doing. Even for me, like this podcast, I'm an introvert. I'm a very introverted guy. To do this was a huge leap of faith, really. So, but that's what we do, right? We just keep forging forward, like following your heart, man. I love it. That's what you do.
yeah, you have to. So yeah, that was
So what's it like up there? Like, how big are the classes, and is it for students that have never wrestled, or is it for more experienced wrestlers? What do you
yeah.
target?
So our class size is usually roughly between 10 and 15.
Okay.
Give or take. But I run Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then we'll do weekend classes at random as long as we have enough people that want to come in. Then we'll come in and do some weekend classes too.
How long is a session for?
Usually 3 hours.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And what kind of philosophy do you have over there? Like, what are you teaching them? Let's start with like mindset. Do you try to reel them all into the same page, I imagine, and kind of forge?
Sometimes, man, it's like, and I joke about this with them too. I'm like, it's like herding cats sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Because it's people from all different walks of life, all different mentalities, all different learning abilities. So it's interesting as a coach, because a big thing that we preach here is being coached. If you're not coachable as a talent or a student, you're essentially worthless, because if I can't coach you, you're not going to learn, right? If you're not open to receiving the information, even if you only take 10% of it, or at this point, I'm banking off of like 1%, retaining the 1% of the information given, then there's not a lot that I can do because I can't get through to you.
Hold on a
So
second.
even coaches have to be coachable, right? Even us. So, we have to be able to apply different learning ways and different learning styles to each person. Like each individual learns completely different.
And it's how we connect with that person individually is really important. You have to
Yeah.
find a thread, right? That
Yep.
way you can dial the, especially today with the way things are with our attention span, right? Getting somebody to focus and be present for 3 hours, like you've got to really connect with people to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you really do.
So it must be tiring sometimes, huh?
There's some classes that me personally, I'll sit there for a minute, like I'll watch a drill, and it might be something that I've reiterated like 6 or 7 times in the last hour, and I see them do it the exact same way wrong again. And it takes me a minute because normally I would be like, right? So I take a minute, I sit there, and I think, and I go, okay, how can I explain this yet again in a completely different way that it's going to click? So yeah, it does get frustrating at times because again, I get it, but I have to remember, like, just because I get it doesn't mean you're going to get it. So I have to rewind and be like, okay, how do I explain this a completely different way to get through to you? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a challenge. I'm a personal trainer, as you know, and it's a challenge for me too, getting people to dial it in. There have been many times that I've gone into great detail about an exercise we're about to do. I mean, Academy Award stuff, right? And I'll give whatever to the client. Sit down. What are we doing? What did you say? And I'm like, So, but it's funny because I always worry about
Yeah.
injuries and stuff with that stuff, right? But then for you, the stuff you guys are doing in there, you got to make sure these adults are really
Yeah.
dialed
And
in,
that's the
right?
same thing. If you're not on the same page with each other,
You're gonna hurt.
risk for injury. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what is your coaching philosophy? Like, what do if you were to sit down with someone and say you want to be a wrestler, what are the elements? Like, imagine, encompassing all of mind, body, and soul, all of that stuff. What's it going to take? Tell me.
You have to be crazy, I think, to be honest,
All right.
to do what we do. You have to be mentally not all there.
I think I checked that box.
Yeah. You have to mentally be kind of messed up a little bit. No, but for real, like, we have such a diverse group of students. Like, I have athletes. I have guys that are just wrestling fans. I have girls that have never done a sport in their life or even thought about a sport. Like, it's so diverse in what we attract. It's really hard to go in it with a specific pitch or a specific idea or a plan because it changes constantly. Like, even on class days, we have a binder. It's actually not like 4 inches thick. And we don't know, like, we know the warm ups. And then I'll watch their footwork and I'm like, okay, we'll start off with one drill that we have in mind and then go from there and build off from there, depending on what we see that they need to work on that day.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have, it's like a curriculum that we have. It's just, you can't form a syllabus because everybody's different. And then we might have 5 really advanced kids and then one not advanced, one brand new.
Mm.
So it's going to be different every time. You have to always be on your feet.
Do the majority of your students have experience, or do you ever get any guys that are brand new?
No, so I get such a mix. So I get a lot of guys traveling in from different areas. Those are really experienced guys. And then I just got a group. I want to say I have like 6 brand new students that are all learning basic stuff, like how to fall in the ring.
Pretty cool diversity, though, huh? Get to work with all
'Cause we have
levels.
2 rings too. Yeah, so we can operate a beginner's ring, and then we can operate a more advanced ring. And Mike usually grabs the beginners, runs them through all that stuff, and then I'll grab the advanced guys and work on more like matches and that kind of thing.
All right. Any student stories? Anybody that you really moved, or you felt moved you in some way? Any student really make it farther? Or
We have a couple guys that we're coaching that ended up getting signed to this new WWE ID program that we're a part of. We have another one that's getting signed soon as well. So there's a few of them that we're definitely helping advance up the ranks. But it's again, it's like like an effort to continuously.
and how is the I'm not the fitness scene. How is the wrestling scene in the area? Has it improved? I know you mentioned it was down for a while. Are there professional? Is it a good circuit? I remember being a little kid going to like a middle school and seeing a local production. I don't see those advertised as much these days.
See, that's the problem. So they're out there. There's a lot of shows out there right now. There really are. Like, New England has probably 6 or 7 different wrestling promotions that run out of it.
Okay.
A lot of them are really not good on promoting. They don't grasp the aspect of the business. They'll promote from like within their circle, but they don't know how to reach a mass market. So that's always a sticking point with companies. The market's just oversaturated, period, with companies. Now, as far as the wrestling goes, I just had this conversation with another promoter yesterday, actually. But we call them bad habits in professional wrestling, where it's like, I mean, I don't have to worry about exposing the business because WWE did it themselves when they went over to Netflix, right? So everybody knows that wrestling is predetermined. The shocker, oh no, predetermined, right? Yeah, so it's predetermined. We all knew that. We've known it for the past 15 years. So we finally acknowledge it as a whole company.
But Scott, does that really change anything? I mean, the sport to me is just as awesome as it ever. I mean, that's just We love you either love it or you don't. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great theater.
It didn't change it at all. Like, not even a little bit. So I don't know what they were so worried about over these last 15 years.
Right.
Because, like, no, everybody knew. It was a running joke that the only people in denial were the people inside. So it's like, people would always get offended. I get the question all the time, man. Like, oh, is wrestling fake? And I'm like, I wouldn't use fake. I would use predetermined. Yes, we know exactly what the outcome's going to be. How we get to that outcome from the start of the match to the end varies. We might know step by step, or we might not know anything. Just depends on the wrestler that you're working with.
Right. And how long could those matches run?
Oh, geez. They could do 4 minutes. They could do 12, 15.
I mean, 15 minutes of that stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, you must be fried, or they must be fried when they're done, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because even a 4 minute match leaves you gasping.
Gassed, absolutely. Well, is there a protocol you guys follow for like nutrition and stuff backstage, or the days of wrestling when you got to go through all that?
So in wrestling, it's kind of like your show, your bodybuilding shows, right? So you're gearing up for that one show. In wrestling, you have to gear up all the time. So you have to make sure that you're in your peak condition all the time. It's not just one show. So we're talking all your conditioning drills that we do during class. You need to make sure you're on top of those. And then if your training sessions aren't good as far as your conditioning, you need to make your actual gym sessions condition based, because that's a big thing. Like, being able to breathe in the ring while you're talking, while you're being physical, while you're cutting promos, the whole deal. Like,
Yeah,
you got to have it.
yeah, you got to be able to speak too, because there's all that
Yeah,
theater you guys do.
yeah,
When you're gassed, it's hard enough to get a word out too.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because it puts you in a different a state of mind. It's almost like military training, right? Where they're not going to let you give up. You have to get through no matter what. Even when you literally don't think you can pick yourself up, you have to. It's like that in professional wrestling. Like, you can't shit the bed when you're out there. Like, you're out there for 6 minutes. In the first 2 minutes, you're gasping for air. Yeah, your feet are heavy at that point. Yeah, you're dragging, but this guy's safety is in your hands. His life is literally in your hands, and you have to get through the match. So you have to, like, tap into a whole different part of you to get through these things sometimes.
Yeah, you got to go into those deeper gears, and dial it in deeper. But it is amazing to me what you guys go through and the level of conditioning for the most part I see from these athletes. Really good shape. Even the big guys, they're still in great shape.
Yeah, yeah.
And it speaks to like the guys at the top. I mean, I would imagine if the more professional you are at every level, and the more you click those boxes, the things you have to do on a consistent basis, that's going to get you to the top, right?
Yep, consistency.
And then what about, like, we haven't even touched upon it. I really didn't even have any questions about it, but persona, like you mentioned you were a villain or something. Like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like, you can be somebody else and jump on people.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of your roles over the years.
So the majority of my wrestling career was based on being a bad guy, being a heel, which is interesting because I associate myself more with a heel than I do a good guy. More because I can really tap into that type of
bully, I'm going to kill you kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get under your skin.
Yeah, because again, like, that was, I had that growing up where it was, there was always a bully. Everybody has a bully story, right?
Right.
So
of
you
course.
really tap into that and be like, no, like, now I'm going to be that guy. Now here's my chance to do that, or to be the tough guy. So a lot of my career was based on that. And then it wasn't until recently that I became a good guy. So, yeah.
So would you rather be a villain? Is it easier?
You know what? Like, I don't know anymore. I don't know, because now I'm just me.
Okay.
And it goes either way. We're just talking about our storylines and how we're going to do it in the company that I'm in now. And it's almost like a weird spot where there's always a defining line between a good guy and a bad guy. But it's very rare can you ride that gray area. And I think at this time in my career, I can ride that gray area where I could still be a good guy, but be extremely aggressive.
Almost like a Master Luke, like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, actually, if you remember Austin back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Technically, Austin was a bad guy.
Okay.
Because he was going against authority.
Right.
But roles flipped because they hated Vince McMahon. and they really enjoyed Steve Austin because Steve Austin could tap into what everybody wanted to do to their boss.
He was awesome
Right?
too, wasn't he? Great. He
Yeah.
was
So
great.
it flipped, but that's Austin was supposed to be a bad guy. Like that's how it worked. Yeah.
He was awesome.
Yep.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit here. When did you get into fitness? Like, were you lifting weights as a little kid?
Yeah, I was lifting weights. Yeah, when I started getting into wrestling. So what, 16? I
Okay.
could join the gym.
And you kept it going your whole life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was yeah. So at 16 I remember joining Gold's Gym. And back then was on Dow Street. Man, yeah, wow, that's a long time. I just remember, like, in professional wrestling, everybody's big. They were enormous back then. It was like bodybuilding in wrestling. Like, everybody was
Yeah.
jacked to the gills.
Everybody, yeah. They were big dudes, man.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, if I'm going to hang in this business, like, I need to get big. So I need to get into the weight room. So I started lifting weights. And I was 125 pounds when I first started wrestling. Yeah, I've been doing it ever since.
That's pretty cool. And, it's pretty cool how it evolved into your nutrition store and stuff, too. You followed that. Similar to what I did with personal training and stuff.
Yep.
It's great when you can turn it into a career or an endeavor like that, for sure, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So how has your definition of strength changed over the years? Looking back at your life and your experiences, I find that as I get older and my perspective changes a little, we like to hold ourselves accountable for the way we did things and stuff. And, and going through that, your lens changes a little bit, right? How you see things change. How has yours changed over the years about how you look through things? Like, especially now that you're coaching, and doing all kinds of different stuff and helping others, really.
Yeah. I guess now I look at it like, and I've acknowledged it in the past, but more so now is like, you literally have like one shot, right, at life and not to take things for granted. So that's one way that I've differed than the past. Like I knew that was always the case, but again, back then you're like, no, I'm invincible. And it wasn't until I got older and really started helping more people, and I saw that type of attitude with those people. And I'm like, no, pump the brakes, live in the moment, because you're never going to get this moment back. And for me, it was more mental strength than anything else.
And now you talk about that a lot on social media, Well, you know what? Listen,
man.
and I'm glad you are, because you know what? It's okay to be a little fucking vulnerable sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Let's smash that tough guy stereotype totally. And you could do it and still be a man, right? And that's what it is, talking about stuff. And
Yeah.
You had a post, I think, last week, and you just said, I can't. It was recently that you just can't do it today, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So it was just, I don't know, you always have those like weird, those ups and downs. We talked about it before. And it was like one of those times where it was just like, man, like there is so much going on right now. I actually sat back and I was like, wow, I just literally like, my plate is full, but I was like, no, let's add more mashed potatoes, please. And I'm like, I sat back and I was like, wow, this is a lot right now. And I can't even categorize it. Like I was sitting at my desk. I remember having a moment where I was like, I was had to work on graphics, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, okay. And then every time I started working on the graphic, my mind would go somewhere else, and I'd start working on that thing. And then I was all over the place. And then I remember my other regional manager comes in, starts talking to me about something. And go, hey, do you ever have those times where like you're working on something, but like you literally can't think anymore? Like it's just and she's like, yeah, I usually get up and like walk around. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I get up and walk around and sit back down. And I'm like, I think I'm stressed.
Well,
I go back into her office and I'm like, hey, is this what stress feels like? And she's like, yes, Scott. Yes, it is. And I'm like,
but and that's awesome. And I love your honesty, but honestly, but let's, being able to identify it, right? Then you can address it. Like, it's important to be able to say, okay, I'm stressed or I'm anxious. And that's a great lesson for people to learn too, Scott, because then you can deal with it, right? So how did you get through that day?
I just called it quits for the day, honestly. Yeah. Which was hard because I'm like, I have so much stuff to get done and in such a timely manner too, that I'm just like, but I could sit here for the next hour and a half, spinning my wheels and getting nowhere, or I could try to be productive and like leave. So,
Right.
I took off, came back home, did some cleaning and kind of just chilled for the rest of the day. But then it was, the next day, what spawned the post was the next day in the gym. I'm just like, man, I don't feel like doing anything in this gym. And it comes down to like, again, I did this my whole life and I have all this other stuff. I'm just like, nope, you know what? You got to do it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's one thing we will never give up, Scott, and that is the gym. I
It's
mean,
the gym. Yeah. So I was like, you know what?
wheel me in, man, if you have to, but I'm going to the gym.
Exactly. So I'm just like, I don't feel like doing anything. Like I literally didn't feel like lifting a weight. Like not even to put it on the machine. Not even to put the pin in the hole. Like I just wanted no part of it. So I'm like, what's the hardest thing I can do right now? And I'm like, fuck that tire. But I'm gonna go flip it because that's the hardest thing that I can do right now.
How many did you do? You did like a shitload in a row or something, didn't you? Oh man,
33. And it was funny because there was the guy in there, and again, this is the morning, and there's the guy in there, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna flip a tire, and he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I can get it to the other end, and he's like, yeah, probably not. And I'm like, well, fuck you, now I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And that's not me normally. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'll just do whatever I want to do. And then I started flipping. I got halfway, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep going. So I kept going, and then it ended up coming all the way back, and I'm like, that was hard. Like, I was drenched. But, yeah.
But you know what? That kind of stuff kind of resets your nervous system, too,
It does.
It can clear your head from anxiety and all that shitty. Those, because how you get trapped in your own head. And that kind of stuff is great to do. Well, just, and that's it. I talk a lot about sitting in silence, at night and trying to shut my brain down. And that's a discipline too, man. I'll tell you what, that is a discipline too, trying to quiet your mind.
Yeah, that does not happen for me still. But yeah, I mean, spawning back to your original statement about like, I think society also puts this weird stigmatism on men or, hard on men because we feel like we always have to be on all the time, right? We always have to be, tough and we can't talk about our feelings. I mean, if you look at the generation, even my father's generation, old Gen X, okay? Yeah.
That's me.
Gen X, where it was really this really tough exterior, and even before them was an even tougher exterior, where they didn't really talk about how they felt, or they didn't really know how to, work around how they felt and deal with the internal struggles that they went through. And I feel like now a lot of kids that I'm seeing now, my students, the schools that I'm working with, and just random people that have responded to me also have a really hard time getting what's in here, but like out, verbalizing what they're feeling, or even being able to do it constructively. Whether it's, job related, a lot of it's relationship related, I'm noticing a lot. And a lot of people have the exact same issues. And it doesn't, it's not just, men, it's women too. Women have the same issues. You'll always hear like, oh, this guy, da 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 da, but it's flip side too. Women, I hear the same thing. Guys have they all have the same problems. So it made me think like, okay, if we all have the same problems, but why is nobody having that conversation?
Right. No, and I'm glad you're doing it. It takes courage to do it, and it needs to be discussed, especially today with the divide in the world. I think the more positivity we can bring to it is good, right? And however we do that, it's just all those higher vibrations, you helping others, you training people, you bringing joy to people's lives. You touching someone in another country that, gives you a picture of you guys in a card. Like that is just, but that's awesome, man. I love that stuff. But to your point, I think the stereotype has changed a little bit, and you're right. The generations before yours, before mine, it's like every generation kind of knocks that down a little bit more, right? Where it's okay for guys to talk about stuff. And I think that's continuing. You're right. And now we're into a situation where younger generations, the kids today, maybe sub 25, 22, they grew up on social media, Scott. And to your point, they don't communicate well, So that worries me. Although I've read that there's a trend more towards sitting in silence, like I mentioned earlier. Kids will put their phone down for a few hours, and I think that'll be a good thing when that finally happens.
Yeah, I do notice that too. I think just the communication in general, as just human beings, has become very lost. And I don't know, I can't, obviously, you can't blame it on technology. And I'm not one to like pinpoint, like, oh, this is why or that's why. I think everybody's responsible for communicating, period. And if you can't communicate, there's some issue that you need to address to be able to communicate. And a lot of times I'm finding it's because people don't know who they are, or that they're really afraid of what their perception of them is going to be, instead of just like living in like actually who they are. So I feel like you
Yeah.
have that where I preach constantly to my students to be transparent, because if you're transparent with everything, mainly because nobody can come back to you and hold you to the fire when you're not, at your own will. So just be transparent with everything, every single thing that you're doing, so that there's never any skeletons in your closet. You're just, here I am to the
No,
world.
to that point, you're right, 100%. Right, live your life, with a high moral compass. When you do go south for some stuff and make some bad mistakes, own up to them and move on. I mean, I tell people all the time, don't dwell on it. Why, when you talk about bad stuff that's happened in the past or something that happened even 20 minutes ago, all you're doing is perpetuating it. Let go of it, right? And I imagine in your field, how, recognize if you've made a mistake and you hurt your ankle or something, and, and that's it. Move on from it and don't do it again. But, all right, so we got to go to the rapid fire round questions.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's all good stuff. You're gonna love it, I think. All right, you ready?
All right, I think so.
All right, let's. Yeah, that's a good idea, buddy.
So, what are the rules? The rules are I have to say the first thing that comes to my mind.
No,
right? Okay.
They're just whatever we are. We might end up spending 10 minutes on one of these. Who knows? We got some pretty good stuff in here. All right, best entrance song of all time.
Randy Orton.
That's awesome. I don't even know who that is.
Really? Oh my God. You got to hear it.
Okay. What is your pre-match ritual, if you have one?
Dude, I don't even have one.
No? There's no mindset? There's no...
You know what? I don't have a ritual, but I guess my mindset is right before I go through my curtain, I remember how Steve would always go through the curtain, and I try to like emulate part of that into my entrance. So that's what I always think about when I'm waiting in Gorilla. Yeah.
Cool. Favorite wrestler growing up?
Triple H. I like Shawn Michaels, Jeff Hardy, Chris Benoit.
Great wrestlers there. Some great wrestlers there. That's like the glory years of the WWE, right? WWF, all those guys.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome. I used to be into it in like the mid to late 90s to the early, 2002, 2004. It was awesome, man. Great entertainment.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hardest match you ever wrestled?
Like physically hard?
Yeah. Something that you just, maybe got beat up real bad. It just emotionally was tough. Take your pick.
Let's do. Emotionally is not really a thing for me anyway. A lot of people do get like an emotional match. Physically, I did a tables, ladders, and chairs match. That was extremely rough. Yeah, that was extremely rough.
That was the one. So that's the one you mentioned earlier. That was the physically.
Yeah, I wrestled a few of those, but like there was one in particular that like I went through a table multiple times and it didn't break. Yeah. I was 50 pounds and just bounced right off the thing.
Oh, they could probably throw you a country mile though, huh?
Dude, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Except through the table. Yeah, it didn't work.
God bless you. All right, training wise, what's your favorite musical group to train to exercise, lift weights?
Oh, I was listening to a lot of 3 Days Grace.
Okay, good one.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of newer groups that I listen to now, like Sleep Theory. I think it's Nevertell.
They just played recently, didn't they, Scott? Didn't Sleep Theory play? I think they might have played in Worcester recently.
Yeah, they did. But there's a lot of smaller groups that you haven't heard of yet, really, that I start listening to, which I was never big on like finding them. Like they just, because of TikTok, like I'll start scrolling through TikTok and I'll hear one and I'm like, and I'll start listening to them and like 4 or 5 songs are now on my thing. Like that's awesome. Yeah.
I love it. How do you do a reset when you're burned out?
Oh, That's a great question. I haven't had to reset much. I let things pile on until I literally can't lift them off the ground anymore.
That's a typical guy.
Yeah, typical dude right here. I guess my reset of recently was just recognizing that I'm stressed to the gills and that I need to figure out how to better categorize my the things that I'm doing, my tasks, because I'm organized, but it's like organized chaos. And it's all in here. I just started tapping into like Google's calendar even more and their task list and stuff like that, so I can really like
Dial it in.
get it out of here and just put it there.
Yeah. Scott, I hate to say it. I still use like a pen. I still want to have one of those paper calendars.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I can relate to that. Cardio, love it or hate it?
I hate doing it, but I love the results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it's a great way for a mental reset for me. A lot of times I'll get through my workout lifting weights and I'll still have a little bit of stress I'm dealing with or I'm feeling, and 20 minutes, half hour on a treadmill or whatever, gone every time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a go-to for me for that. All right, this is a good one. How do you define success now versus 10 years ago?
Oh man, success 10 years ago for me would have been being signed to WWE as an on-air talent. Now, for me, success is being happy with what you're doing, right? So, like, we have the ID program. I don't think we really didn't talk about the ID program much here, um, but we are one of 4 schools that WWE designated as an official training facility. So, we have the responsibility of training these talents that are going to be signed with WWE. We're taking
That's awesome.
talents from the ID program that they did sign and get them even more ready for a better spot in WWE. So that is the first time it's ever been done. It's brand new. Something I've been working on in a business plan that I had made, and I have actually sent it to them, and we were waiting to hear back because that was my goal with making the school, was to have that type of developmental system. To me, like, I didn't know that they were starting to work on the same thing. Apparently, Triple H had this in his brain since 2016. So it just so happens, now it comes across the desk and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, like, we're definitely partnering with these guys. They didn't tell us until like 6 months later. So here I am twiddling my thumbs, like, waiting game. And then Nick Khan signed off on it. And yeah, we were good to go after that. But
That's
it was
awesome.
the first of its kind to ever be done.
That's awesome, Scott. That's awesome. Talk about validation though, for your school.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the thing, is like, we're the only ID developmental school in the Northeast.
That's awesome.
That's it.
So you must get students or people coming in from all over the place.
I do. Yeah.
Spending the weekend or whatever, spending a few days.
Yeah. I got, what do I have? I had 7 or 8 guys from Canada come down.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Meeting new people, finding out their stories and stuff. And a side note, that's kind of why I started this podcast, because I love these conversations,
Yeah.
It's awesome meeting new people and hearing about their life. I love it, especially imagine when you have that common thread of wrestling too, they have a passion for it like you do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. If you could wrestle someone from the past or present, who would it be?
You know what? I would probably really enjoy wrestling the guy that trained me, Steve Bradley. I never got to wrestle him, just in class like that, but not on a show. I think that would be a really fun time. A person from that era in WWE, I'd probably want to be either Triple H, Chris Jericho, or Benoit. Those 3. Yeah.
They're probably all Hall of Famers, I would imagine, right? Those guys?
Yeah, except for Benoit. Yeah, yeah.
He was awesome, though.
He was great. Like, his in-ring stuff, so good.
Yeah, talented guy.
Yeah.
And he's jacked, too.
Yeah, extremely.
All right, so next question. If you could train with someone, past or present, lifting weights or whatever you want to do, who would it be?
Good. Billy Gunn.
Okay, who's Billy Gunn?
So Billy Gunn was part of, do you remember D-Generation X?
No.
So he was with the Road Dogg. They did a tag team.
Okay, I remember him.
Yeah. He was badass Billy Gunn. He did this move called the Fame-Master. He's in his 50s. Google him. The dude's jacked.
I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to do it right now. Hold on. Keep talking because I want to Google him real quick.
So yeah, he was definitely somebody I got into later on in my career. Like I started watching more of his stuff because I really respected like his in ring work and his conditioning, and he's just a really good talent, really good talent.
He's still a big dude, huh?
Yeah,
Man, that's what it amazes
crazy.
me how big these guys are. You know, remember, I'm a bodybuilder, and so I appreciate this stuff. Like, I remember bumping into Randy Macho Man Savage at the gym. It was World Gym in Somerville, Mass. That's where they went when they were in town, right? To train. So when I knew they were in town, I'd always train over there, and sometimes I'd bump into him. But I will never forget how big he was. Just tall. He had paws on him. Like you see this stuff all the time, but for me, it's like, oh my god, he would kill me with that thing. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, in the physiques, the level of training they take themselves to, uh, and like he still looks great at 50, whatever he is, 55, 60. He looks awesome.
yeah, yeah. He looked
You know.
good. He still good.
Okay, so might be a tough one to answer, but biggest turning point in your life, if you have one.
Biggest turning point. Ah, that's a good. That's good. I don't know if I really have a specific turning point. I just remember. I think everybody kind of goes through a series of just. It's like a downhill spiral in your life. Everything gets loaded on. You're getting just whatever unfortunate events after unfortunate event, and it just keeps going. Right. At a certain point, you got to look at it and go, all right, is this just happening because it's just happening, or is the way that I'm perceiving everything, or the way that the energy I'm putting out there, is that what's driving all this stuff to me? And it was at that point where I started thinking like, okay, like maybe I need to live my life a little bit differently. Maybe I need to be more transparent, be more honest, be more respectful, and just be a genuine good human being. And then, it took a little bit. I ate a lot of shit.
But that reset, though. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Finish.
Yeah, no, and going through all that stuff and trying to stay positive, and I always tell people like, even though you're going through all this negative stuff, you have to take all this seemingly negative and find something good out of it. So, yes, it sucks that you broke up with your girlfriend after 2, 3 years, right? But find the good in it. Okay, good. Now I can find somebody that clicks with me better. I can find somebody that actually wants to be with me, loves me, that I can trust. There's all sorts of things like, oh, I got fired. Okay, good. That means you can spend more time chasing after the career that you want, right?
Right. And putting a positive spin on things. And also, to your point, sometimes you just got to let go, right?
Yeah.
You do your level of self-awareness, talk about getting fired from your job, like, okay, Stu, you got fired. Why'd you get fired? Well, because you punched the guy in the face right in front of your boss, right? I mean, you have anger issues, right? But that self-awareness is a good path to be on, right? Because not a
Yeah.
lot of people go down that road. All right. Do you have a most embarrassing moment in a ring match? Did your trunks ever fall off or whatever? Anything kind of goofy?
No, I don't think. You know what? I don't think I have. There was no. It's not. It's not really
Nothing.
embarrassing. I mean, I forgot to tie my trunks one time, and I got a roll up, and they pulled.
Yeah.
My
So you
butt
got
came
like
out a little bit, but like,
nothing, no
yeah.
big deal.
I mean, I'm half naked anyway, so I guess it's whatever.
Yeah. I would probably have a trailer full of bloopers if I was a wrestler. I wouldn't have made it to the first. I wouldn't have made it to the first out of.
I would say just the whole path that I have been on. There's not one defining moment that I'm like, yeah. It's the whole as a whole because, like I said, wrestling. Like I've always wanted to be an on-air talent. From day one, I think we all did. That's why we got into wrestling. But I found like I really enjoy creating that opportunity for somebody else. Like more than me being out there. I'm like, and a lot of times I'll wrestle people and I'm like, yeah, but this match is for you. Like this match isn't for me. I'm 40 years old. I'm never going to be on TV. Like this match is for you. Let's get you that career. So I think just giving back in that way gives me a lot more enjoyment than still chasing that dream. And I think as you get older in this business, I think you need to realize like where exactly your place is because it's not
Yeah.
always be in front of the camera.
Right. Right. And that to your point, that evolves too, right? You
Yeah.
know. I dreaded retiring from bodybuilding. I wish I could still do it, but I knew this time would come. So I kind of look back and how blessed I am to be able to do this shit when I'm in my 50s, and
Yeah.
and when I think about it, it's like, it's cool. And that's what you're doing. You're transitioning, right? Like I transitioned.
Yeah.
But you're always going to be a part of the sport because you love it, right? It's part of who you are. And you're always going to be part of the fitness community because it's just part of who you are. But to your point, though, you follow your heart. You do. You carve the path out and you follow it. And I wish more people did, Scott, truthfully,
I do too.
I think we'd be a happier place. And so many people don't. For me, peace is everything. Peace and happiness, right?
Yep.
And that's my centering point. In today's, I think, society, as we're so fast paced and stuff, I think sometimes you lose that perspective too,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, people will have a hard time sitting back and living in the moment.
Right. And, I've had to work hard at it. I really have, to quiet my mind. And I read a lot of guy Eckhart Tolle. He wrote one book, The Power of Now, just trying to be present, how difficult it can be, and tools for you to learn to do it, But that's everything. If you're not present, you're missing out on a lot of good stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. One more quick fire. Finish this sentence for me. The ring taught me
perspective. Yeah, there we go.
Excellent. Tell me.
That's another thing that fans don't understand. There's different perspectives that go into professional wrestling. So you have a fan's perspective, right? Sitting out there going, watching this match, and you're like, oh, this is great, whatever, really enjoying the entertainment aspect. There's the perspective of the referee, right? So you're in the referee's perspective, and he has to officiate this match and look really official. And now there's the perspective of people behind the curtain watching what you're doing, right? And they have their own jobs, their own things. And then you have the wrestler's perspective. And to me, it was always like, you'd show up to the arena and you would go over your matches, or maybe you wouldn't, depending on who you worked with. But we all had lives outside of wrestling that we just came from. So you don't know what happened in that person's life that day, or if they were having a good day, if they were having a bad day, where they were mentally. So like the perspective of being the other wrestler in the ring, you didn't really know. So it made you really like, for me, it was very eye-opening to know that, okay, this guy's also having a shit day, but we're here to entertain the fans. And then we come back from the curtain and we're like, yeah, like today sucked, but that was sick. Like,
right,
that was really fun.
Yeah.
So being able to gain different perspectives on people's lives, and the crowd doesn't know that. The crowd doesn't know that you had a shit day.
No, and they don't even, to them, you're just, the person that they're there to watch.
Yeah,
you don't. They don't even care what you exist the rest of the time, right?
Right. Yeah.
For the good or bad of it, I suppose, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one, Scott. That was a good one. All right, we're going to get ready to wrap it up soon. Final thoughts.
Man, I think going back to your earlier point too, where, I wish people would just be able to talk about more of their feelings, communicate a little bit better, and just be receptive too. I think that's a big thing, being able to change yourself. And if you don't like something about yourself, like, you're the only one that has the power to change. That's it. And you can always be a good person. And I wish there was more of that.
I do too, and to your point, I think it starts with self-awareness, right? And, and you've got to change that lens. You've got to change that perspective sometimes,
Right. You have to.
Yeah. And I think with people like you in the world talking about it, I think you can make a difference. And that's why I'm doing it, right? So we can try to make a difference in some people's lives on a much bigger scale, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's great. I absolutely think it's great. I'm glad you joined me today. Where can we find you on social media?
You can do all of them, actually. Instagram, Facebook. Okay. I have a TikTok. Whatever.
Yeah.
Twitter. Yeah, I have a Twitter.
I do too. I'm still figuring it out. But
in professional, man, it's the only platform that professional wrestling hasn't left.
Really?
And I hate Twitter. I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't have a Twitter. I have.
Yeah. So all my handles are all the same. Scott Reed 765. Kept it all simple.
Okay, excellent. And at the end of the video, when people go to watch it, I'll put all your contact information up, your school and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, actually, my website too directly links to my LinkedIn, which
Okay.
my
Perfect.
link tree. Sorry, my link tree. I have a LinkedIn too.
Okay.
If you go to thescottreed.com, you just get everything there.
All
So
right.
that comes
Perfect.
down to all my supplement brand sponsorships, my coaching, nutrition meals, the professional wrestling side of me, literally everything.
Awesome. Awesome, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me today, man.
Thank you.
You will definitely. No, this was all right. To be honest with you, I was so excited for this, Scott, to talk to you about this stuff.
Really?
I really was. Like, I love this stuff. Like, people, I probably don't want to hear it anymore, but people follow their heart doing stuff that's off the beaten path, right?
Yeah.
I think I even had this conversation with you once when I was training for the Nationals. Like, you were hurt. I don't know, another injury for Scott, right? Ankle or whatever it was, and
Probably
you were
my knee
limping.
when
Yeah, it might have been then.
I don't know the first time or the second time. I did it twice.
But you were still at it and and I'm like, we chatted, and I remember saying to you, like, this is awesome that you do this, and you still do it, and I can relate to that through bodybuilding. I can kind of relate to it in that sense. So, and I think you're a great influence for people today, Scott. I really do.
I try, man. And like I said, being a good person, it opens more doors for you too. Like I'm doing stuff now that I didn't even think, like I didn't think I was going to be talking at SNU. Like now I'm there like every other week. Like they want me to start talking to their classes.
Tell me about that. Tell me a little bit about that. What's going on?
Yeah. So I had formed a relationship with him based off of wrestling. We did a show there. They really loved it. The whole school did. The important people that needed to really like the show. So it got us in the door there. And then because of my postings on social media, then it came down to having me in to talk to their classes. And I did my first class that I talked to was pop culture. And between everybody watching, I had no clue what pop culture class was. Dude, I tried to Google that. Google couldn't even tell me what pop culture was. I was like, I don't even know what this class is. Like, how am I even going to have this conversation? So they loaded questions and started dropping them. But these kids were just, and I remember, man, like I hated sitting there in class listening to it. I was like, oh, this is boring. You didn't want to listen to somebody speak. So we got through all my wrestling stuff. And then I was like, do you have any questions? Literally does not have to be about wrestling. Just ask me anything at this point. And then the question just started coming in, like just going and going and going. And what I gathered from it is these kids are mentally in a place that's very difficult for them to navigate because all the questions they were asking me were really like mental health related questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of took a turn from wrestling got me into talking about mental health. And then this last class that I talked at was business marketing, management and marketing. So that was fun. It just basically talked about all my companies and how I self branding works,
Mm-hmm.
which was really pretty cool. So I talked to them about that. And then I have another one coming up that is marketing, business marketing. It's
Wow,
just
what
a whole thing that I never thought I would ever be doing.
But a couple things come right to my mind. What a great experience, right? For you and for the kids as well. But to talk about that with them, Scott, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It is you're right. It's the most important thing. And at their age, there's so much pressure on them to perform and to be this or to be that, to identify what they want to be in life. I mean, I still don't know what I want to do. And I'm 57? I've had like 7 or 8 careers. So I think that's important that you do that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, these kids don't even know. And I mean, yeah, obviously, we could probably do a whole entire podcast about,
We will, because you're
school in general, you know what I mean? But like,
we will for sure. You'll be back
these
on.
kids are leaving high school and expected to figure out what they want to be the rest of their life. And they're still going through hormonal changes. And you're like,
Right.
how can you even ask a kid that's 18 years old what he wants to do the rest of his life? It's going to change 12 times.
It is. And it's funny. I talk about it because I got a lot of kids now. It was never really my wheelhouse to train kids, but in the last 4 or 5 years, it's, a lot of kids. And I usually start 14 years old, 15 years old. So I'm getting them young. Watching them grow up and develop has been just an amazing thing. I talk to them about mental health. I talk to them about how important it is to exercise and how good you'll feel afterwards and how much it can relieve your anxiety and stress and depression. And I think those are all good things, and you're seeing more of a turn towards that. There's more people talking about it, like we spoke about a little earlier.
Yeah.
And those are all positive things, because as the more we talk about these things, the stigma drops, right? And then it's gone at some point. And that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like even to pinpoint, a lot of them have issues with relationships. And that's the biggest one that I see, which is why I usually try to touch upon that more, like a little bit more in my post, because I know it's more relatable to a lot of people. And, I've been through a shitstorm and a half of relationship issues. So it's kind of like one of those things where like, I'm old school, like, you can tell me and I guarantee that I've been through it at that point. You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of these kids have a lot of hard times. Like they take a breakup like it's the end of the world. And again, like we all did until we got older and realized like, no, that's just the start of something completely new. That's just another chapter in your book. Cool. Turn the page and move on, because you're not going to get that moment back.
No. No, and that's a tough lesson for those kids, right? A lot of that, they might still be their first puppy love or something. You may never have, and love's a powerful emotion, even at our age, even at my age, let alone when you're a kid, right? You first feel that,
Yeah.
your heart's just pouring out of you.
You have everything. You have happy. You associate it with happiness, sadness. Now you're depressed. Now you're angry. So you go through all those emotions, and the same thing is I was reading too that getting over a relationship, a breakup, is the exact same as getting over a death.
Yeah,
The exact same goes into it.
In many cases, you'll read that it's even worse because that person's still alive, right?
Yeah.
And living a happy life. Yeah, I mean, but these
happy,
are,
right?
Yeah, seemingly happy on social media anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that put a front on to escape the emotion.
There's enough of that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll have to talk about that next time a little bit more on the next podcast when I have you on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would probably hit home for a lot of people, is just having those conversations of, just even how to deal with that stuff is.
And it's funny, not just that age group, all age groups too.
All of it. I mean, I still have a hard time sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't until this last one that I really got a grasp on, like, how to really handle things and really like, okay, that chapter's done. You need to close that.
Right. And like I said earlier, sometimes we perpetuate things in our mind, and a lot of that is relationships too, right?
Yep.
And then when you look back on stuff, you kind of romanticize everything to make it look a little bit better.
Yeah, and you can't. Like, you have to hit it raw. You have to be like, yo, this is what happened.
Absolutely.
This is what I went through. You were just looking at it through a set of love goggles. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You were putting into perspective a person that didn't exist. You made that person up. That wasn't who that person was. And
very dangerous. And it's very dangerous to do that in any relationship.
It is.
Right?
It is very dangerous. It plays tricks on your mind, and then you start missing somebody who never existed in the first place.
It's true, and that's what we want, right? I mean, I believe we're here to find our soulmate, or someone, of that ilk, someone that you're just so connected with. You vibrate together, your energy's together, and then, hopefully you have, shared passions or shared interests and all those things. That's why we're here, I think, man.
100%.
Love.
And they're out there, but you can't find them when you're still turning that chapter backwards.
No,
you're
and you got
back and reading the book, like.
Yeah, no, you got to cleanse the palate.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
All right.
Eat some ginger. Get it.
That's all. Listen. It's been great. It's been great having you here.
Thank you. This is good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll get you on before the end of the year. Yeah, this should probably drop, I would guess, probably mid-November or something. Towards the end of November would be my guess. We'll pick it up after that, though. But again, thanks for coming on board.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. And for everybody watching, thanks for tuning in. Remember to hit like, subscribe, comment. We're building a community here. Compassion, empathy, love, and laughter. We're just being real as we can. Thanks for joining us today.